Alright, so I am working on story 1 in my December daily. You've already seen me work on my title page and reason why, and now I'm going to be working on the back side of my reason why page. This is what that looks like. And I have a story here about our elf on the shelf. Obviously the elf comes on day 1, so I'm just going to be telling a little bit of a story about her and her arrival this year. I have 2 different journaling cards printed out. This is a word art from Liz Tamanaha by Paislee Press, I think from December Daily of 2021, but it might actually be from the current December Daily. I will have it linked down below. This is the digital stamp, and I just added that as word art to accompany my journaling. And then I also went online and printed, I printed this picture of the elf. So I literally just, I believe I actually searched girl elf on Google, and this is one of the images that popped up, and I am just printing that to the correct size that I want to add onto my layout. And I also cut it out, just fussy cut it out. You can see there's white around it, but that's okay. And now I am just debating on the placement. So I kind of want to have her sitting on the joy, so like the tail of the J. Alright, so as you saw, my elf was a little bit too big to fit on the journaling card that I wanted. So I ended up just reprinting the elf, and now I am cutting the curl part of the O with my X-Acto knife. And my idea was to kind of have that part of the O overlapping the elf, so it really looks like she's sitting on the J. It kind of helps give a little bit more realism to it. I don't know if it actually succeeded or not, but it was a good idea. I'm just going to be using some regular Tombow Mono adhesive to glue my photo of the elf down on top of the J. My first instinct was definitely to pop up the elf with some pop dots, but since this is a 3x8 album and the spine is a little bit thinner than most other albums that I've worked with, I decided to go with kind of a minimalist approach and just use regular adhesive to glue her down. Now I'm going to move on to the right side of my spread. As you can see, I've brought out this 2x2 page protector. This is in the 6x8 size, and I'm actually going to cut off a column of those 2x2 squares. So I'm left with, I believe it's 8 2x2 squares left, and I am going to be using my bone folder to fold over one column onto the other. So it's going to end up being a flip out on the back side of this spread, and that's because for day 2 I have a lot of photos, a lot of little photos that aren't great quality, so I wanted to include them into the album, but not necessarily give them center stage, so to speak. So I'm just going to be using my bone folder to kind of make sure that it lays flat. Turns out that no matter how many times I run over it with my bone folder, it still has a little bit of a tendency to pop up, but that's okay. I feel like over time and as the album gets fuller, it will kind of flatten itself out. Here I am with my photos already printed out. I went with 3 photos, and then in the 4th square I'm going to add my story number. I decided to use my Canon Selfie to print out these photos, and I created a Photoshop template for myself so that they would fit exactly into those 2x2 pockets. So you're going to see me filling them right there. I actually included some photos of the elf throughout the month. This was kind of a weird month to do elf on the shelf, so I only took a couple of photos of the elf throughout the month, so I decided to add those all on story 1. And then for that blank square, I'm trying to decide the background that I want to use for my number, and I come up with a few options. Looking back on it now, I really like how that red circle transparency looks, but I end up not going with that. I end up actually cutting out a piece of transparency from what used to be my title page of my album. So if you watched my previous December Daily 2021 video, you'll know that that was the title page of my album before I switched out the transparency. And I'm going to be using that one and cut it into a 2x2 square and then add it into the pocket, and that is going to be the background for my number. So I'm using a gold number from Felicity Jane, and then I'm also going to be adding this Together Again chipboard piece. My journaling is all about how much my daughter loves the elf and looks forward to her visit for about a couple of months before December starts. So that sentiment kind of went with the spirit of my journaling. And so I added that with regular adhesive. Again, I took off some parts of the chipboard backing just so that it was a little bit thinner. And then I am going to be adding my double-sided adhesive to the back of my gold one and add it on the outside of my page projector. And that is day 1 finished. Now on to day 2. Actually, I lied, you guys. There's one more thing that I'm going to be adding onto story 1, and that is one of those black tab stickers. These are from the 2021 tab set by Ali Edwards. I know that those are only available digitally right now, but you can still get these tab stickers with, I believe, some of the same sentiments in her 2022 tab set. I will have that link down below. I used the one that said Mary just because that fit really well with the story that I was telling, and I'm just using my tiny attacher to add that onto the front side of my 2x2 page protector. I'm not sure this was actually the best way to attach it. I feel like the staples definitely keep the page protector from lying flat on the fold. So if you're worried about your flip out kind of popping back up, I would definitely probably think of a different way to attach your tab sticker on. But for me, it didn't work out that badly. As I said, it doesn't really bother me, and I do feel like it will lay flatter when the album is more full. And as I've been rambling on about my tab sticker situation, you've been watching me cut out and add my 2x2 journaling spots and photos into that flip out. To be honest, I'm not 100% in love with how this spread turned out. I had a lot more journaling than I thought I would when I decided on using a 2x2 flip out, and I felt kind of stuck with how I was going to arrange all of my journaling and all of the photos. As I said before, none of these photos are great quality, so I didn't want to add them in a larger size. The 2x2 size worked perfectly for how good the photos were. But I had a lot more journaling, and I feel like I could have maybe added it into my spread a little bit better. But when all things are considered, I'm trying to keep in mind what Ali always says, that the December Daily album is really a sum of its parts. No one story or one spread is going to make or break the album. It's the album as a whole that is important. So I'm trying to keep that in mind as I am going over this spread. But as you can see, I fiddled with the placement of my journaling spots a little bit more than I probably should have. I do end up moving on to adding my my day number, my story number to the spread, and I'm actually going to create my spot for my number by stamping my own background using my date stamp. This date stamp is just one that I picked up from Studio Calico. I think it goes up to 2025, so that is useful. And then I stamped that with my metallic gold Ali Edwards ink. You can pick that up on her site, and I will have it linked below. And then I just used my 2-inch circle punch to punch out a circle on white cardstock, and then just repeat stamped my date over and over again. And I think the background kind of really worked. I'm going to be adding that wood veneer 2 to the top of that. At first I wasn't really sure if I was going to add a sentiment or if I was going to add my wood veneer 2, but I ended up going with my number instead of a sentiment. And then I'm going to work on my flip up. So I have these 3 extra photos. I'm going to add the top one of our house to the top of my 3x4 card. I've cut out some 3x4 pieces of cardstock, and then for my journaling, I'm actually going to cut out some more of that Merry Transparency and add the rest of my journaling from this day on top of it. So that is what you're going to see me do right now. I'm going to speed you up and come back in a second. Some vellum to make the hinge for my flip up. As you can see, I have a piece of vellum that I have folded in half. I'm going to attach one side to my bottom photo and then the other side to my top photo. I'm a little bit out of frame right now, but you're going to see what I mean here in a second. Using vellum as a hinge is one of my favorite ways to create one, just because the vellum doesn't add a lot of bulk. And I'm just going to attach my flip up to a 3x4 piece of cardstock and add it to the top of my 3x4 page protector. The last thing that I'm going to do on this spread is I'm going to add this chipboard circle that says Hello Changes. Again, since I am really making sure that I don't have a lot of bulk in this album, I do take some of the backing away, and I'm just going to add that to the outside of my page protector with some rolling adhesive. And then the last thing that I'm going to do is add my wood veneer to atop my circle, and I will call days 1 and 2 completed. If you have any questions about my process, definitely leave them in the comment box below, and I will see you in my next December daily video. Thanks so much for watching and have a wonderful day. Bye.